Folks, something's got to change. Yeah, sometimes a paradigm just has to be changed a little bit due to changes in inputs. In this example, seed has gotten so much more expensive over the past even year that we're going to have to reconsider how we think about seeding. And yeah, we're going to have to revisit this and do a better job the first time. In this episode, I'm going to show you our seeding results from last fall. Not as good as I'd like, but we'll give you a close look at that. And we'll show you a couple different things we're going to try to do different and seed it this spring again. Again, spring's not the perfect time, but it's the time we have. Let's get started. Even with the TTWT discount, this Turf Saver RTF now is $170 per bag, $177 per bag. I can't afford to get this wrong very many times. It used to be that, oh, seed it once and you get what you get, and then overseed it again, overseed it again, overseed it again until you get it right. And that philosophy kind of works, but I have a feeling that's not going to be working for me. I don't have that kind of budget. And I suspect some of you are in the same situation. So what we're thinking about is, what can we do to do a better job the first time? One thing we've not done is put any straw over the seed after we've seeded it, and I think that hinders us. We've always had better luck when we do straw, but it's a pain. And for any size area, we need some sort of application equipment, a straw blower. So we may consider that. Need not to spill it. Another area is that we need to get that seed to all sprout. You know, we had a bad fall last year. It was late October when we finally seeded, for two reasons. Number one, we just weren't done getting the hump out of the way, but it wouldn't have mattered. We had drought time from mid-August maybe all the way till the end of October. We had no rain at all. So we wouldn't have got our seed to sprout anyway. So we just kept putting off the seed, and then when finally we saw rain in the forecast, we seeded it. In fact, we finished when the shower started. So we don't feel like on the timing we did any better than, or any worse than we could have. We did the best we could. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough, because the result was that while we got some seed to grow, some of it froze out later in the winter. Let's take a look at that. This area right in here is next to our driveway. It probably got the best stand that we've got anywhere. From a distance, it doesn't look so bad, but when I'm kind of looking down on it, it's still not acceptable. Behind me though, on out there, we didn't get enough to even consider it even marginally successful. The only areas that we got what I would consider a consistent stand was where I went over it twice. Right here in the swale, I went over it twice, and I had good grass there. And then I had real good grass all the way through here as well, but it washed out in the spring. Even the good grass is gone, right? Well, I'm trying to figure out whether I had better grass there because I had double the amount of grass that came up. You know, I seeded it twice. Or whether it was simply running over it twice with the seeder, the extra trip over with the cultipacker of the seeder, if that got that seed to soil contact a little better. And I'm actually leaning toward the latter. If you remember, I used that wood seeder, and one disadvantage to that particular one is its weight. It's meant to be light enough to pick up with a 1025R, and it just barely can be picked up by a stock 1025R. And I just don't think it's heavy enough to really push down and get that seed to soil contact we need. So I started on this yesterday evening, and I went over it with Vinny and the Airvator seeder. I really like the action that seeder gives. It looks like it's been totally tilled up, right? But if you'll look right in here, this is some of that new grass, okay? So I believe that I was able to seed it, get it stirred up enough to get that grass seed, that new seed stirred in there, but yet not tear up this relatively young grass here. So I'm hoping that this approach is going to work. What I think I'm going to do after this, first we're going to finish that part of the seeding. I don't have it all done yet. And after this, I think I'm going to put a little bit of seed in my wood seeder, and go over it in a different direction. For one thing, to smooth down some of these little humps that have been created here. And by putting a little more seed in and then running it over with that cultipacker again, I think maybe we'll just do all we can to get the seed to soil contact there. And Christy and I are still debating about putting straw on it, even this spring. We got rain coming maybe about 3 to 4 days from now. If we don't get rain, hopefully this grass doesn't sprout, because there's not enough moisture here right now to keep it going, and I can't afford to water. I don't even know how practically I would water all of this, so that's not going to be an option. You can see that it's not easy to seed a large area. Small area, no big deal. Throw the seed out, water it twice a day. You know, if you want, get a little bit of straw and put on it, problem solved. You can do that even in the midsummer, but when you're talking about a large area, you have to depend on God to provide the rain. And so having some backup plan like straw is probably what we're going to have to do. Now, some of you are saying, why don't you use a hydro seeder? 2 reasons. One, I have no idea. I have no idea about hydro seeding. I'd have to get Pete from GCI Turf to bring his hydro seeder up here and show me how to use it. And number 2 is just the cost. Don't have any ability to put that kind of money in seeding equipment, no more seeding than I do. So I think maybe trying to figure out this approach and figure out what's required to get seed to grow reliably in our area is our goal here.
It would be good if we could pump the water out of the pond up here.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Because I'm needing the water out of the pond anyway, and so I've got the pump. I just don't have the irrigation equipment to actually spread the water, right? So I hope you can get a kind of a view of what this Airvator does to this soil and what it doesn't do to the grass. I think as long as we get some rain sometime this weekend, this existing grass will be fine. But it really does stir that soil. Now this soil's pretty soft. You know, it's not real hard. But yeah, I'm really excited with how this looks. Some of you are probably asking about Rex's yard. We seeded his yard, well, it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's been really cold. But yes, he has grass coming up now. We're excited about that. Now, like I was saying, this ditch here had some of the best grass in it for most of the winter. And then we got the torrential rains here, well, in late winter, I guess you would say, and it washed it all out. So even the spot that had the good grass is now gone. Some of this work is probably kind of futile anyway, because we intend to tear everything up over here this summer with the pond. And I don't have good concrete plans on how we're going to do that yet, but it is still in the plan to try to do something with that this summer. Maybe we won't have to mess with this area over here. So we'll keep investing in seed. This Airvator works really well if the soil is moderately hard or even pretty hard down to moderately soft, but if it's freshly tilled soil, it doesn't work very well. It just buries itself and it really can't handle freshly tilled soil. So I suppose for freshly tilled soil, the best approach would be Ventrac's new seeder, which is functionally very similar to the wood seeder. It's a cultipacker in front, a slightly offset cultipacker behind, and the seed drops in the middle. The benefit of the slightly offset cultipacker means that the groove of the front cultipacker is where the hump of the rear cultipacker is, and that forces the soil to be moved just a little bit to improve that seed to soil contact. Seems ingenious to me. Maybe it's obvious to everyone else. I'll finish this up and we'll take just a brief look at how this handles the thicker grass over there in the best section. The section where we had the best stand to start. We'll see you over there. Soil's a little bit muddier here, and so it's not tearing it up as much. The Airvator doesn't really like muddy soil. As you can see, it just pokes holes when it's muddy. Get up here a little higher and it'll be drier and you won't see the holes anymore. You'll just see what we were seeing over on the other hump, right? Yeah, up here there's no more holes. Now we built this up a lot. It's probably 2 to 3 feet higher right here than what it was previously. So a lot of fill dirt in here. Now hopefully you can see that the grass here doesn't seem to be destroyed behind me. But yet the seed is hopefully still getting good seed to soil contact. Put a little more jiggle in it where it's muddier here and see if I can get it to spin it up. But I don't think I am. It's just doing what it's going to do. It's hard to believe any of this original grass survived. We were really rough on it last fall. But it pretty much all survived except for areas where we buried it 6 inches deep. I'm just about done here. Let's go get that wood seeder and pack this all down a little bit. I think that will really help our chances this spring. There's several things I like about this wood seeder. One is the finish, right? I mean, it runs over with a cultipacker. In this case, actually 3 cultipackers. 2 of them in front of the seed and 1 of them after the seed. And just leaves a very smooth surface. Now, as I was saying before, this particular seeder was made specifically for subcompact tractors. And the compromise of not being quite heavy enough is something that's going to hurt us a little bit. So if you can afford it and you have a bigger tractor, I might step up to a larger size that has these steel cultipackers on the rear instead of the plastic ones. Fiberglass, whatever they are. So what we've chosen to do is I've taken 4 42-pound weights and I've put in the back hopper. That's the one for the warm season grasses. And I put some paper in there to try to keep it from, tearing up the seed hopper, packing paper, or in one case a seed bag. But I'm hoping that extra weight helps us to be able to get a little more down pressure overall. I mentioned 3 cultipackers this time. Yeah, I've got the spike roller on the front, and I took the disc blades off this season just to try something different. I think maybe this might be a better approach. Now, you can angle those front spike rollers so that they're more aggressive or less aggressive. In this case, I didn't want them digging in at all. I just want the rolling action. I just want them doing a little bit of packing. So essentially I have 3 rows of packers. And one of my favorite parts of this seeder is that it's ground driven. So it doesn't matter what speed I go with the tractor, I'm applying a consistent rate. After you would practice with this seeder and use it for a while, you would really understand, assuming you use the same seed, you would understand your application rate. And that's going to help you more than anything else to save on seed costs. Probably enough to pay for the seeder, to be honest. I wanted to use Sparky for this project because he was so quiet. I mean, I'm wearing these headphones, but that's because I already had them on for the previous part there with Vinny, but oh my goodness, I should, 79 dB when I'm not talking. Me talking increases the volume more than anything else. After last week's mowing project, I have a little bit of kind of cleanup to do on the numbers there. I put 1.7 hours on the tractor with that project. That's hours on the tractor. It was hard for me to time because we stopped and talked sometimes, but I went from 83% battery to about 30% battery, and we were pulling the tractor at most of what its capacity was with that PTO finish mower. So 1.7 hours and about 50% of the battery was the final total there. That's what I mowed after I got off camera as well. I should look at how much it took to charge. I don't have that information. I'll try to put that information on screen right now. Now this project is much more suited to Sparky. It doesn't use a PTO. It doesn't matter what RPM the tractor runs. So I've got good variable speed. It in a lot of ways feels like a hydrostatic, even though it's a gear drive, right? So this is, this is quiet, this is comfortable, this is great. I'm also not using very much battery at all for this project. I started at about 98%. I had put the loader on, is the only thing I had done, and I'm at 92% now. So yeah, this is a joyride, except for the pig pen dust. Really putting the seed right on the ground. The only thing it's doing is trying to force it down a little bit to get that seed to soil contact. Now that may make perfect sense to those of you that are experienced grass seeders from years and years and years. But being a farmer, I'd love to have a little bit of covering on that seed. I don't know, that just seems to make sense to me. Christy, it's a hard decision as to whether we want to put straw on this or not.
Yep.
I mean, in one sense, you say we've spent a lot of money on seed.
We have.
A lot of money on seed. On the other hand, we have to either buy or rent a straw blower, because I don't think spreading it out by hand is going to be practical over this amount of area.
No, it's a large area.
And then we got to go find straw and buy that and haul that in here and everything.
Right. We got to do something to try to protect it.
Yeah, we're expecting rain in 3 or 4 days, but and it's going to be cool a couple days after that. But then what? I mean, it's probably going to be back to being warm, and
right.
the top of this surface dries out so quickly. We just don't know what we're going to do, and I guess you'll have to stick around. What would you do? Let us know in the comments. Would you put straw on it? Would you just hope for the best? Would you have just saved the seed and let it grow up in weeds? That might have been the best.
No weeds.
The best choice. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. Now that you have purified yourselves by obeying the truth so that you have sincere love for each other, love one another deeply from the heart. For you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and enduring Word of God.
You look like Pigpen from the
Is it that bad?
Charlie Brown. Well, you got a trail of dust following you.
I didn't even hear him coming.